Okay. Okay, let me know if you can hear me now. Maybe the sound isn't so great, but I'm using another mic. Let me know if you can hear me. Please write on the chat here. Can you hear me now? Now there is sound. Yes. So third time lucky. Good stuff. Okay. All right then. So let's just wait till people join us. Sorry for that. I don't know what happened. I think my microphone must have just died on me because it was on and everything. It wasn't muted. I don't know what happened. It was just working just the other day. Okay, good stuff. Okay, so as I was saying, what I was trying to say before being muted was that so we're so fortunate to have the Bhagavad-gita. The Bhagavad-gita is such a small text. It's only 700 verses. And in such a short, concise text, we see so much packed into it. There is so much knowledge. It's not, I don't mean to, I'm not, hopefully not sounding offensive to any other tradition or any other holy book, but the truth is that in the Bhagavad-gita, we have in such a short, condensed form, so much information. So, and placed in such a systematic and where in other traditions we don't have a clear vision of what the soul is, of what God is, or even so much as what the whole path to become enlightened is. In the Bhagavad-gita, in such a short, so it's very impressive in that sense. Let me just with us. Let me just share this link with some more people who didn't get it. Okay, so it really is amazing. So the Bhagavad-gita really has this special place in that everything is so clear. That's what attracted me to the Bhagavad-gita. I wasn't born into the Gita tradition, but what attracted me to the Bhagavad-gita is exactly that. It's just how everything is so internally consistent. I mean, of course, we can always have the doubters. We can always have people who say, well, forget that. It's all rubbish. Somebody made it up. Yeah, whatever. You can always doubt everything, right? People doubt science. Open, clear-cut science, people doubt these days. Unfortunately, this has been the year of many absurd cases of doubting science, despite horrific results. So people can doubt facts. That's just part of it. That's a very 2020 thing, to doubt facts. So you can doubt anything, but if you go beyond just doubting, if you go beyond just doubting, what you find in the Bhagavad-gita is truly impressive. It's truly impressive in the sense that you have this summary of soul and God and the process of becoming enlightened in such a concise, philosophical manner that doesn't seem to age time. Another wonderful thing about the Bhagavad-gita, it doesn't seem to age with time. Just a second. Some people here still don't have the new link. I'm just going to give it to them. Let me just think here where some people are still trying to find this. I don't know what happened with that. This is, you know, Krishna sends us a little challenge. And I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Let me just share the link with a few more people here which haven't gotten it yet. Just a second. Okay. Okay, I'm glad to see you guys managed to come over here. By the way, my microphone, my lapel mic, which has a better, seemed to have died, and so it wasn't working. So I'm using just the camera mic, which isn't so great, but at least you guys can hear me. So anyway, I was just talking about the Bhagavad Gita in general, but I'd like to hear your questions. The idea today is to hear you. Please, I'd like to hear where you guys are from, and please type in here in the chat just where you're from. And if you have any questions on the Bhagavad Gita, yoga, spirituality, please make sure that you type your questions now. I'm waiting for your questions now as well. So go ahead and write any questions you may have concerning Krishna, Bhagavad Gita. So we have Roman from Germany. Very nice. Hans, please tell me where you're from. And Shaya, Ramyavenu, Peggy, please just chat right here on the chat where you are coming from. And so that's what I find we have Lynn here from Florida, Mafia. Oh, from the Netherlands, very nice. Hans, my brother is living in Copenhagen. We have Prasad Rakshish, Shakshi, okay, Kush. Let me know from India. Tell me where in India you're from. Vraj from Toronto. Damien from Germany. Carlos. Janique also from Germany. Okay. And we have Rhonda from California. Well, nice. Sorry, guys. So again, sorry for the switching around there, but bit of a technical. So anyway, let me know what questions you have. I'd like to open up for questions now. So Ram is from Bangalore. Shari is from Columbus. No, my lapel mic is now definitely switched off, so I don't know what's picking it. Nothing is picking it up, no. Shaksi from Delhi. Okay, Mexico, Santiago from Mexico. Very nice. Very nice, guys. Oh, Damien here. 2 parts. How is karma compatible with free will? Who gets murdered? It was the karma of the murdered person to get killed. The killer acted as an agent, transmitting the deserved karma. How could the murderer possibly have had any other choice if the murdered person was destined by its karma to get killed? So that's a good question from Damien. It's complicated. And Krishna says it's complicated in the Bhagavad-gita. He says it's quite complex. But the way things are, like, why is that person there, person there, you know? And sometimes people want to kill people, but they can't. And sometimes they don't want to kill people, and they do by mistake, you know, as an accident. Sometimes people kill themselves. So if you look around and you see the element of chance in anything that goes on, right? Like, for example, like I wanted to give a class, but then by chance the microphone wasn't working. You know, it's just, there's these elements of chance, you know, things don't always work a certain way just because you wanted and you planned it. And so with this is no different. So the murderer has an intent to murder, so then nature will guide that person towards somebody who has that karma. It's just the way it works. You know, we just have to accept that there is this complexity. It's a very complex system, but somehow the pieces all fit in, because otherwise you wouldn't have, it wouldn't make any sense. Otherwise, you'd have what's been plaguing, what's been like the bane of Abrahamic traditions from the very beginning, from the very beginning of Judaism, from centuries before Jesus. It's been the plague of the Abrahamic traditions, is not having an explanation for why things happen, not having karma, the concept of the law of karma. Because when you remove that, then just nothing makes sense. So between, like, okay, how could it be that the person is there to be killed? Okay, it's a little complex. It's not impossible, though. It's not impossible that nature would be arranged in such a way, right? I don't see anything that's impossible about it. But between that and just the utter chaos of having a system where you don't have the law of karma, you can't explain why things happen to people, which is what happened in the Abrahamic traditions, in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. That just corrupted people's faith. That just really corroded people. They were like, you know, they're trying to figure it out. How does this doesn't make any sense? It's very confusing. So yeah, it's a little complicated, but it's understandable how that would work. Like sometimes like that, you know, like you've had experiences in your life where you really wanted to do, you just can't do it. And then something else happens. It's like, because, you know, that just couldn't happen. And in this regard, there's this funny story in the scriptures. I don't remember from which Purana. I think it's from some Purana. I'm not sure where it's from. It's not from the Bhagavatam. It's not from our major scriptures. Story where you know, this guy, this bad guy comes along and grabs this brahmana, and this brahmana was very sure about his purity. He was really aware that, you know, he was like in his last stages of existence here. He didn't have karma. He was very convinced that he was pure. Which, I mean, I would never do that. But anyway, he was. So he says, look, you can't even kill me. I don't have the karma. Like, I'm all afraid of you because you cannot kill me. It's impossible for you to kill me. So he just directly, you know, I just don't have that karma anymore, so you can't do it to me. And then, you know, he gets away. I don't remember the rest of the story, but I remember that scene where he's like, yeah, you can't kill me. It's not possible because I just don't have the karma for it. So they have that idea. Kush says, my question is that what is the difference between moksha and mukti? Okay. So moksha and mukti, well, there is no difference. I mean, they're just different words. You know, in the Yoga Sutras, we have, you know, kaivalya, for example, as well, which is a nice word. So moksha, mukti, kaivalya, they're just different ways of saying, you know, becoming liberated, like being freed from the cycle of birth and death, you know, the soul finally parting. I really like it, you know, and that's not the Bhagavad-gita, it's in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, where he really describes, graphic in describing what that means, ways from the gunas. That's how he puts it. the soul parts its ways. Moksha and Mukti means it just means you're gone. You're no longer, stuck here. No more karma. No more taking birth again. You're gone. But what is interesting, though, not in the Bhagavad-gita, but on a higher level, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is that considered by many like the most important text, the Srimad Bhagavatam, where you have the story of Krishna's coming, the story of so many other avatars and the teachings. It's a very big book. If you can see my shelf here, it's this book here. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam. It comes in 12 cantos. It's a very large book. It's 20 times the size of the Bhagavad-gita. So what you see, like what you can understand from like getting deeper into the Krishna tradition, is that the goal is to attain moksha, or whatever, but it's actually to go beyond. So fifth human goal, which is prema, Krishna prema. So what we're trying, be freed of gunas, not just be freed of birth and death, but develop love of God. And in the same page with all the other theistic traditions, like the end goal is to develop love for God, not just become liberated. Because once you have love for God, it actually doesn't matter where you are. And famously, our great spiritual master Prabhupada, Swami Prabhupada, he said, even in hell, he will be happy because you'll be serving Krishna. So it doesn't matter. Okay, we have here, August. Oh, book. Okay. Yes. So it's a very good question. Your Vocational, as I explained, and in the third class, as I explained in the second class, no, in the first class, no, I didn't explain that in this class. But as I explained in my, we have the different dharmas, and so I call the vocational dharma your base chakra dharma. Like, what did you come here to do? Like, what is your calling? Are you a science teacher? Are you a physical person? Are you just a laborer? Like, what is your calling? And dharma, how you express that would be your occupational dharma. So there's two different dharmas. Vocation is like, what's your calling? And then occupation is how you may or may not express your calling, right? For example, your calling might be to be a writer. But then you can use that to write political speeches. You can use that to write ads. You can use that to write children's books, poetry. Like, how are you going to express that vocational dharma of writing? It might vary in, one career to, from one job to another, etc. So how you express your vocational dharma will vary. But expressing it as a volunteer, it's great. And I tell a lot of people who retire, I tell them, look, don't stop, because you're still you. Just because you're retiring, that doesn't stop you from being you. So whatever, especially if you somewhat got, you figured out your vocational dharma, your calling, and you're working with that, you can't stop. It's just because you retire and are paying for you, don't stop. Even people who like lose their jobs, right? I also tell them, look, you can't stop, because it's gonna hurt if you stop, because it's unnatural. Just the soul wants to act. So even if you're unemployed or if you're retired, you should still be serving according to your vocational dharma, according to who you are. So for example, I love teaching. So I can't ever stop teaching. Whatever, I have to be teaching, that's my calling. That's my vocational dharma. If I stop teaching, I'm going to be unhappy. Right? So you have to find it and just keep doing it as a volunteer, however. Of course, you want to get a nice job, you want to get, of course, that's normal, that's okay. But you can't do it in such a way where you sacrifice who you are. And some people, for example, they might stop doing what they actually love to do to get more money, and that's a big mistake. For example, the other day, one of my students is a hairdresser. He specializes in coloring hairs. I didn't even know that was a thing, but anyway, specializing in colors as a name. Anyway, the thing is like hair. He's like, that's his specialty, and he loves what he does. And he says, oh, I got this opportunity to do something else, I'd get more money, but it had nothing to do with that. And I was like, no, you can't do that. This is your calling, this is what you love. So you have to do what's your nature, your dharma, not, the money aspect is something else. It's a secondary consideration, not primary. Okay. Roman asks, do you think we are in Kali Yuga? Roman, I think we have no doubts about that, right? I mean, if we just zero, 2020, if I don't think anybody had any doubts, but if you had any doubts, then the year of 2020 certainly has eliminated all such. There are definitely no doubts about that. This is definitely Kali Yuga by all accounts and descriptions. Okay, Prasad says, sir, I'm from India. I am recently graduated from Mumbai University. Congratulations. And afraid to competition in my career. Can you tell me how Bhagavad-gita can help me? Yeah. Well, it's actually, I hadn't read your question yet, but it has to do with what I was just saying now. And what you should do is, I know there's a lot of pressure. I know it might seem, but what's really important is that you take some time, if you haven't yet, to look inside, to find out what it is you really want to do. What is your dharma? We call this dharma. What is your dharma? What is your calling? Because just because, it happens all over, it happens a lot in India too. Maybe you just graduated in engineering because everybody told you that engineering was good for getting a job. But maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you really just like cooking. Maybe you like arts. Maybe you're an actor. I don't know. I'm just saying, what is your true calling? Maybe you're more into administration. Maybe you're into science, full on into science research. You see what I'm saying? Maybe you like sales. But whatever it is, you have to look inside and see what really is your calling. Because if you start off on the wrong track, maybe you're already a bit on the wrong track. Maybe you wanted to study something else, but you studied this because of, you had some pressure to do so. So already, but don't think like, oh, since I'm a little bit off track, I'll just insist. No, that's not a good solution at all. So what you have to do is really like, okay, what is it that I really should do? I love this example. 2 examples I'm going to give you regarding this and why it's okay to change even at a later point in life and do what's your true calling. One is a personal example I got from, my own life. Nobody told me I was going to be teaching Bhagavad-gita. It doesn't make any sense. My family is atheistic. I was born, in the West. I had nothing to do with Bhagavad-gita. I was no family influence. I wasn't, I didn't live in India. My parents were atheists. There's like zero influence. There's no logical reason for me to be teaching Bhagavad-gita, yoga tradition, bhakti. There's no reason. But so I was just like I was working in an office, executive level, that kind of stuff, wearing a suit and tie and, wheeling and dealing, trying to sell helicopters to the government. That's what I was doing. But that wasn't my thing. So later, as I found the Gita and I developed and I started looking inside, all these things that I'm now teaching, I found my true calling. That's what I'm doing now. So I've got nothing to do with that other executive lifestyle, corporate life. That's got nothing to do with me. But I started like that and I adjusted. And then I'm super happy now. It totally works. I'm so grateful every day, just literally every single day. So what I would recommend is that you also take time to figure it out. Another great example, which you might not know because Brazilians know, it's a very famous photographer called Sebastian Salgado. He's very famous. You can Google him later, right? And so he's like one of the most famous photographers in the world, basically. I'm just gonna tell you that. He's like photography royalty, okay? He's like right at the top. This guy is like super, super. But this guy, his story is really good. He was actually working in the World Bank. So he had a great job. He was working in the World Bank in Paris. This is pretty good stuff, right? I mean, you're like a Brazilian who's in Paris working for the World Bank. It's great, right? I mean, this is really good. You got this nice job, and he had a family. He was married. He even had a baby. And what does this guy do? He quits his job and buys a camera. It's like completely crazy. I wouldn't even recommend that if he was my student. He just like quits his job and then he buys his camera. It's not even that he was like developing a whole photography career on the side. He quits his job and then he gets into, so it's like, and now he's one of the greatest photographers in the world. So definitely look inside and see what's really there, what you really want to do. And then just focus, and this is where the Bhagavad-gita will really help you. Focus on your Dharma. Focus in the here and now in doing your best. How can I serve the world? How can I live this? Your standard is in here, not out here. It's not about the competition. Yoga is telling you that your competition is in here. You have to compete with your own self. You want to be the best version of yourself versus the not so best version of yourself. So that's the competition. How can I be the best version of myself? That's your competition. How can I be most true to myself, most aligned in the here? And then of course you're learning how to control your mind through meditation and sattvic lifestyle, so you can have more mental clarity. Okay, Damien continues. Killer and karma. He says, but if the killer gets driven by nature to kill someone, loophole. See there, Damien, we don't agree, because nobody brought up idea that karma people have this idea that karma impels you to act, and that's just not true. Nobody is impelled to act by karma. But we have responsibility. You have free will. You can decide what you're going to do, something you're going to do. It might be really hard, it might be easy, but it's not impossible. So no, he's not impelled to kill in that sense. He's letting his mind run loose. He's cultivating. He's not controlling his mind. He's just flowing. He's just taking care of himself. So he's not impelled to do it. No. Laura Rodriguez says, hi, if the person who has to punish a person, like complete the karma, decide not to do it, how is the victim going to level his karma? Is it like a deal between souls that has to happen mandatory? No, again, it doesn't, because you might have the karma to receive something. You don't necessarily have to receive it. Later, and you could understand. Remember that one of the things in the Bhagavad-gita is Jnana Yoga. Krishna explains in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. And Jnana Yoga, you remember from the first class of Bhagavad-gita week, Jnana Yoga means that you burn your karma. Krishna says, like a log is burned to ashes by a fire. You can burn your karma with knowledge. So your karma can be burned, it can be delayed. It's not like a strict thing. And again, you could also say, no, but if it had to happen, that's what had to happen. So it's hard to like see what's going on. Because if you say that the killer decides in the last minute not to kill someone, well, it was just that person's karma all along not to be killed. So, again, it's complex. You should just understand, like, don't try to like nit, because it just like fry your mind. But basically understand that. But what is the universe? It's a personal way to refer to Krishna. Yeah. So people, when to talk is such a difficult topic these days, because we've had so many horrible things done in the name of God. God is, I mean, the most, the terribly represented person in the entire universe. So things people have killed, raped, and started wars and in the name of God. So the worst things you can possibly imagine and things you can't even imagine, evil has been done in the name of God. So understandably, a lot of people are fried with the concept of God. They're like, SD with God, it's like people don't want to hear about this. So because God is like, it's been so poorly represented as an evil, jealous, vindictive, horrible person who takes sides and kills children. And so because God want to say, talk to God and believe in God, they say the universe, because the universe sounds nicer. Oh, the universe. The universe rap sheet, and God has this horrible representation. So that's why. But of course, once you go beyond, I was ignorant of God. When you just go beyond that level, just ignorance, this lack of knowledge of God, not knowing who he is, or just not knowing about him, or just ignoring him, then yes, of course, it's really God. When you pray to the universe, you just, of course, what universe? Yeah, you pray to the atoms, or like this pen is part of the universe. Are you praying to my pen? Like, what are we talking about? It doesn't make any sense, right? You're talking about like the major, you're talking about astrophysics, you're like suns and stars and planets, you're playing to black holes. Of course, it makes no sense. I mean, you try having a conversation with a black hole and tell me how that goes. Of course, it makes no sense. So yes, it's Krishna people are referring to. And how does someone who has such faith in the universe become more inclined to personal connection to God? Really appreciate your videos. Thank you, Sham. Well, Sham, what I would say is they have to study the Bhagavad-gita. I mean, they have to study yoga, That's how somebody would develop this personal connection. That's what I see in my students. Because once you have a clear presentation of who and what God really is, then the obstacles are cleared, right? You can begin your path towards bhakti, to understanding God. I mean, again, that's what happened with me. Once once the information was there through the Bhagavad-gita, oh, okay, so now there's a path. Now I have something to connect with. Because before it was just, stuff, nothing nonsensical, vague. So no, not that, but now it's clear. So I would say that they need the Bhagavad-gita. Science says, have you been to India? Yes, I've been to India several times. Yes, especially just always just for spiritual purposes, going to Vrindavan, Mayapur, always with that focus. I haven't toured India just for fun yet. I might do that sometime. So Hans, the connection is getting poor. The picture gets still and the sound stops now and then. Oh, yeah, I don't know what's going on, guys. Sorry about that. Usually it's pretty good, the connection here. I don't know why it's being dodgy. Damien says, since God knows everything, he also knows that what I will do. If someone offers me a banana or an apple, how do I have a choice? Because God knows what I will choose. Well, Damien, not really. Again, for example, I give the example of my children. So I know my children very well. So within certain things, if you give my child a choice, I'll have a pretty good idea what they will choose. I can't say I know for sure what they will choose, but because I know them so well, I have a pretty good idea. Especially if you offer them broccoli or pizza, I'll know they're going to choose the pizza. So with God, it's the same thing. He knows us very intimately, perfectly. Again, with my children, the fact that I know that they would prefer, let's say, a cookie than a broccoli doesn't mean that they don't have free will. They have free will. They're just exercising that free will towards the cookie. And I kind of know them well enough to know that that's probably what they're going to do. So, but they still have the choice. That free will hasn't been removed because a person knows you. So it's a little different. Laura says, I've been trying to find my vocation, but I can't find it. I've meditated and tried listening to myself, but there's no result. Any advice? So Laura, in my book, The 3T Path, I give some ideas, some suggestions. And in this channel as well, you'll have some suggestions. By the way, people, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're tuning in now, because we try to post here regularly. So make sure you take a little time now to give us a little like and subscribe, so Google knows, so YouTube knows that this is a kind of content that people like, and we can uplift the content of YouTube in general. So how to find your vocation. One thing I will tell you, though, is sometimes you won't find it, Sometimes if there's nothing that's coming out, if you can't tell whether it's administration or physical labor or intellectual, if none of these things they all seem the same to you, then maybe there's nothing that, then you should just think of other things like, okay, what kind of situation myself in? Job situation. Maybe I just want to stay at home and take care of my kids. Like what, maybe because there isn't something right now that's a call. Not everyone has a standout vocational calling. That's something I tell my students as well. There isn't something so obvious. Not always. Some people do. Some people have it super obvious, so like ever since they're a little child, they're doing it. Like you see some actors and sports people, it's just like they're just so good at it. They've just been great at that since they were like a kid. But other people, it's not so clear, or like more experience. So one suggestion to you is give yourself some time, travel around, do a bit of this and a bit of that, just get on. Like maybe I'll tell you two examples, because I live here in a yoga resort in Brazil. I run a yoga resort called Pandava's Paradise. And I've had people come here, young people, not so young, like late 20s, sometimes even early 30s, who, they're kind of lost. They kind of come here, they want to work, like, oh, it's a yoga resort, it's nice, vegan food and meditation. So like, yeah, everybody wants to work here in the middle of nature, waterfalls, it's like, okay, pretty good, right? So people come here and they studied biology, or they studied something like, and then they come here and we say, look, the only job we have here is like working in the kitchen. So this one person, she came here and she starts working in the kitchen, and just chopping vegetables. And then she discovered, oh my God, this is it. So now she's a full-time professional chef. She's a professional chef now. And she discovered it because she took a job, like she wasn't thinking that was her career or anything, but she discovered herself. And here as well, another example I had is another lady came, and my children were really small then, and we were really busy. So look, I need some help. I need you to do some babysitting for us. Like while we're working, I'm giving class, then you just take care of my kids. And she just discovered herself. Now she's a full-time, she became a proper teacher, and she's like a full-time working with children, because it just hadn't occurred to her that that was her calling, like being a teacher, working with children. So I've seen this happen twice just here in my little universe, So you definitely just get around, just, work here, work there, work in a store, work in a restaurant, do some volunteer work in, somewhere else in some other country. Just expose yourself to different experiences, and then something might happen, because there's lots of things you would never imagine as a career, scuba diving, cooking, taking care of children, things that people don't usually come up to you and say, oh, here's a career option for you, but then they might just be the thing for you. Being a tour guide in Indonesia, it's like you never like, oh, but then that's what it is, that's what works. So you just don't know. Okay, Hans has a question. My question is actually, I'm in a position to choose my path. Yes. I'll stop with my work and retire. So my purpose will develop as a grandfather, also to make more of my marriage. Good. And I'll continue the Hatha Yoga and study the Bhagavad-gita, continue with this path. Yeah, you can do that as well. You can say, look, I feel that I've served my vocation well enough, and I want to work on my relationships, and I want to be a grandfather, I want to be a good husband. That's good too. But just be aware that, you're tired. Of course, you've been working for so many decades. So you're like, oh, I don't want to work. I just want to retire. A lot of people do that. This is a common thing. Psychologists talk about this. It's a common thing. Oh yeah, retirement. I just want to get retirement. Yeah. And then people retire and they go, oh, whoops, I'm really bored now. So that happens. So just be aware that even though you're like, okay, I just want to retire, just remember that you might feel like a little emptiness inside, start getting a little bored. So then you're like, okay, how can I take my vocation, my professional calling and experience, how can I use that now in a way that's not me working in an office all day long, but how can I use that in a way that fits into my plan of just taking it easy, of taking more time with my wife, with my grandchildren. That's the trick. That's what I recommend my students. Okay, and Damien, knowing someone intimately and knowing everything is not the same thing. I make good predictions what someone will choose. God knows for sure what every person will choose. Well, no, he doesn't know for sure what everyone will choose. That's not true. I don't see any verse that says that. Because if everything was so programmed, then why would he teach the Bhagavad-gita? I mean, we're not just robots. There really is a difference. At some point, you can really change your mind. So you have the ability. So that's not really true. Don't think that, oh, God knows everything, in the sense that, yeah, he knows, oh yeah, you're going to become enlightened in 1,000 lifetimes from now. And no, it doesn't work like that, because you can become enlightened now. So you have the choice. You really do have free will. That's what I've never seen this concept of like, we're just little robots. That doesn't come up in the Vedic explanation. Hans says, I had a perfect job as a labor assessor, loved it, but now I'm 69 and would use my time better. Yeah, again, it's like, of course, you put in so much time. But I'm just saying, just keep in mind, keep in the back that maybe you're going to, just feel it if you like. If it's not, then flow with it. But maybe you're going to want, oh, I wish I could use that professional experience, and you might want to do something with that. I don't know. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Anyway, let me tell you about the course. So we're going to open up now spots now for a full online Bhagavad-gita course. So this full online course is a semester's worth of material, where we're going to cover the whole content of the Bhagavad-gita in a very systematic, academic way. We're going to cover all points of it's a different methodology. We're going to cover the content of the Bhagavad-gita first. Well, I explain everything that the Gita has that Krishna is explaining. Then, as you have a Gita flow section of the course where then I do explain how the Gita flows from the first verse to the last verse, how things go, like the content. It's the 3-hour, side course, like a bonus part of the course where you see how the whole Bhagavad Gita flows. It's quite fascinating. You get the whole content of the Gita in sequential order. You have also, of course, the verses themselves to listen to. And what we do is the whole course load stays online. You have access to it for 2 years. All the classes are there. As soon as you sign access to the whole thing, you can watch them from your tablet, your phone, your computer, any time of the day, as many times as you want, unlimitedly. So it's like you decide how to do this. Everything is online. As well, as soon as you sign up, you get invited to a little WhatsApp group that I have just for the students. And I'm on that group 7 days a week. I'm there 7 days a week, and any question that you have, anything that comes up, I'm there. Questions. And well, furthermore, we have a live Bhagavad Gita class like this one, just for the students, once every month. So every chance to ask your questions, to place your doubts, and I'll answer, and you can ask again. So we have a live Gita class every month as well, again, for 2 years. So all that is in the Bhagavad Gita course. Really give you like this whole knowledge. Just imagine how you'd feel with like your mental clarity, your spiritual life, aligned day-to-day life, perfect spirit of the path forward, the whole wisdom with you on your fingertips. The start Tuesday. So on Tuesday, 9 a.m., I believe, EST, you will get a link, and you will only be able to join the course from Tuesday till Friday. And remember that all the classes are still available until tomorrow, Monday, midnight. You can watch everything again, the 3 classes from the course. You can watch everything. They're still all available until tomorrow midnight, then they go offline. And then you have until Friday if you want to join us for the full Bhagavad Gita course. All right. Let me question. So Damien says, so God is not omniscient. That's weird. Other religions define him that way. Yeah, omniscient, again, doesn't mean that you don't have free choice. I don't know, you're confusing knowledge with control. I can have perfect knowledge, but it doesn't mean that I'm controlling your decisions, and your decisions might change. So your decisions are impacted on the next decision. So you can know, I don't believe in this, oh, God is omniscient, he knows everything. Omniscient is like, yeah, he knows everything now, maybe. Yeah, so try to understand that. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much. Sorry